welcome to ADHD-Friendly, where everything we do is focused on tilting that playing field so that we are moving from anything we're struggling with to thriving with our ADHD brains. This is episode 151, and today I'm going to be celebrating summer coming to an end.
Woo!
Oh my gosh. If you guys follow this podcast, you know I don't do well with the heat. It's like my kryptonite. It just weakens me, and I love cold weather. So I am celebrating that in a minute, and then I'll share what I purchased this week as part of my accountability. And then I have an ADHD-friendly tool for this week related to a dry erase board strategy that can work for families. And then our topic for this week is WWHWD. What would Henry Winkler do? So there's a reason this guy is next to me. I'll talk about him in a second. He has to do with the main topic. He's kind of sharing the screen with me right now. It's a little spooky, I guess, but I'll get into that in a minute. But first, let's start as always with my celebration. So we're going to begin by welcoming new subscribers. Becca, we are getting to a milestone.
We are.
Not today, but I can, for the first time, say I think it's going to happen. Like I'm feeling strongly it's going to happen.
I think so too.
We are at 981 subscribers.
It's crazy.
Guys, I don't know what I'm going to do when this green little guy over here flips.
Yeah.
Like I think I'll lose my mind, because I remember when I bought this, I was down here. I may have been at 100 when I bought it. And I remember thinking, like, I have all of these other, like I don't have it in screen, but they keep going up to the millions.
Yeah, they do.
You never know. Like, I won't say never. You never know. But I am so stinking grateful for all 981 people who took a moment to pause their brain from what they're focused on to go and actually subscribe to my YouTube channel. This is all for YouTube. So thank you so much. Welcome. And I hope that something I share today helps to support your brain with a little bit more ease. So on to my other celebration besides welcoming new subscribers. So Becca, this comes out, I always record this 2 weeks early. So in full disclosure, it is still technically August right now. This episode, let me see, will come out on September 11th, which is 2 weeks from today. We are pretty much in a 2-week ahead cycle. That's what works for us. It helps support Becca to get the episodes edited in. And it's part of what built the consistency of having one episode come out every week. Because if we have illness, if we have vacation, we have, things that get in the way unexpectedly, we have that buffer to keep up with it. So full disclosure, it is still technically August and it is stinking hot right now.
Oh, yeah, it is.
But the end is in sight. So I am celebrating making it through the dog days of summer, which I don't know why they call it that. I love dogs. I don't know. Post in episode 151 if you know why they call it the dog days of summer.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like the dogs are even hot and miserable. I don't know, because dogs are always happy and
usually feel lucky. Yeah,
I don't know. But I wanted to share, I have had one of the things that really worked for me this summer was it was so busy.
Yeah.
And that's not typical for me.
Yeah.
I usually kind of hunker down in the summer and don't do a lot because I don't like the heat. So I don't really want to travel. I don't do things outside very much. But this summer I went to 3 concerts. I went to Heart. I went and saw the Doobie Brothers. And of course I went and saw Foo Fighters. This is craziness. I went on multiple trips. I went to Denver. I went to North Carolina.
Twice.
And I went to Indiana. I had multiple people come and visit here in Chicago. And I got a lot of my 24 and 24 things checked off. My list of things, 24 things I'm trying to get done during 2024. Painted the outside of the house. Just got that done last week. Got my daughter's wisdom teeth pulled as I shared. She's doing great. Oh my gosh, still like such a huge, every time I say that, I'm like, yes,
done.
That was such a big, like lots of executive function in getting that taken care of. Played pickleball. My goal was to play it once, except for when it's hot like this. I play pretty often with somebody in my family. Like I've got enough people in my family. There's almost always somebody to play with. I bought new underwear.
That's plus.
I know. It's something I put off until it's unavoidable.
Yeah, and then you really
and it just
have
felt
to.
like so like, oh, I forgot. Why do I not indulge myself more?
Yeah,
it feels like it makes getting up easier. It makes getting dressed feel more special. It's just, it's that gift you give yourself. It's a form of self-care.
It is.
Underwear is self-care. And Becca, I have not shared my vegetables.
No.
I never have them with me.
Nah, man.
No, but I have made the best vegetables this year,
Yeah,
except for
you gave me
cucumbers.
some.
I gave you some. I
Mhm.
brought them to my knit group. I brought them to book club friends multiple times.
Amazing.
I brought some with me to North Carolina to
Yeah.
give to my kids twice.
And it was peppers too, right?
Peppers, and so pretty much I only grew peppers and tomatoes.
Yes.
But I am talking about the best stinking cherry tomatoes. They were
Ooh.
like fruit. I
They
would
were
literally just pop them in my mouth. They're in a
delicious.
bowl on the counter. I just rinse it off, pop it. They're organic because I don't put anything
Right.
pesticide or anything. So they're all natural.
Oh, love it.
Just I use organic soil, like everything. So we're like,
Yeah,
they're
so you
growing in
know
a cedar box. My
what
husband,
things
I'm like,
are.
oh my gosh. I don't know what happened to the cucumbers. That is a little bit of a bummer because I was really looking forward to them, but I've never grown tomatoes before. So I'll take the swap. It's
Still
okay.
green thumbs?
Yeah. Yeah. And lots of really yummy peppers. They're delicious.
They were so good.
And I meant to bring my watermelon. I picked the watermelon. This is the biggest the watermelon's got. Again, if you're listening to this, I have a YouTube channel, ADHD-Friendly. Check it out. It's only that big, full of seeds. Next year I got to find seedless watermelon because it's pitiful when you try to eat a watermelon this small and it's all seeds. It's like there's like nothing in there, but it was still fun. So here's to the summer of 2024.
Yes.
I almost said I loved it, but I kind of did.
Yeah.
And I don't like summer. So that's
You
a
made
real
the best
celebration
of
for me.
it,
I
for
know.
sure.
So I really, oh, and I also got my personal owner's manual course, 7 weeks, 27 tools, I think is what I
Yeah.
finished with. All ran live 7 Wednesdays in a row, ran
Yeah.
it. And I am now in the process of turning it into an on-demand course that
Ooh.
you can purchase, or if you join ADHD-Friendly membership, you'll get it as part of the membership, all included with all of the tools. So I'm turning that into an ebook as well. So I'm going to have, and the structure of just running it live was what I needed. I've been trying to do it for 2 years. I should probably celebrate that too. Lots of celebrations.
So
Look at
many.
the energy. Guys, this is why we start with celebrations. It fires up our brain. It builds that positive emotion that we connect to, and it just flows. It gives us what we need to get going, to get our things done. So successes are a powerful thing. All right, on to what I purchased this week. I did not purchase this guide this week. I shared when I purchased it because I don't think I wanted to give away what, and it was a business
The
purchase.
podcast.
Yeah, so I don't remember if I shared this a few weeks ago. He was about $25. I'll talk about him in a minute. I need to name him. But I did purchase some office supplies. They're arriving today. But I was literally down to my last envelope. So like the business envelope.
Yeah.
So I purchased, since I was already doing an order, and I purchased a lot of my business stuff from Sam's
Yeah.
because they have like a lot more business supplies than Costco does.
Well, that's good to know.
And they used to have free shipping, period. Now they have free shipping with a $50 minimum. That just changed like in the last week.
How do they do that?
So here's my fun thing. They had my Pilot Frixion erasable pens.
No way.
I know. So I got them because I had to get up to $50. I also bought a thing of the dispenser pop-up Post-its because I needed those. And I was completely down to like literally over here, like looking for random paper clips. I was down to my last 2 paper clips.
Oh yeah, you definitely.
What I didn't realize was I had to order 3 of them, but I thought they were going to be 3 boxes of 100.
Yeah.
No, they came in packages of 10. So I now have 3,000 paper clips. I don't think I'm going to need paper clips anytime soon. It reminded me a little bit about the pallet that I had delivered to my house when I used to have an eBay store, and I didn't know what a pallet was. And this like truck with a forklift came and dropped it in my driveway, and I was like, "Get this before my husband gets home from work." I was like, God. The kids were napping, and I'm out there in the driveway trying to like unshrink wrap this pallet. I had at a much smaller scale that experience with the Post-its or with the pit because it came in a big box. I'm like, okay, guys, this is a little overkill for 3 boxes of paper clips. And then I opened it up and it's shrink wrapped, 10 boxes in each shrink wrapped, 3 of them. And I was like, what am I going to do with all these? I don't even have storage for this many paper clips. If you need some paper clips, I can hook you up. So yeah, I make like a little pile over here, which is where I was scooping them from yesterday before they got here. They arrived yesterday. Everything else is coming today. It must have sensed I was down to my last paper clip.
It did.
And so they came early.
Okay,
on to my ADHD-friendly tool for this week. And this is a way to use a small, preferably like a portable or a stand-up or on a little stand dry erase board to support your individual family members' intentions. So I use this example a lot when I'm working with families or with parents or couples. And there's the need for accountability, but this is a way to use accountability in a friendly way. So I always say, think about what would work for you. If it feels like an expectation in a too strong of a way, it can backfire. But so I'm using my little stand guy. Love this guy. He's got a little, he folds flat. I got this on Amazon years ago.
Love it.
So you can like easily, I keep this on my bookshelf. I just tuck it in, and then when I'm going to use it, I just lower the sides and I can set it down and it stands up on its own. It's two-sided. So it's lovely. But I put an example here of mom, dad, and what did I name the kid? Jenny. Where each has their own column, each has their own color, and how it often is used with good success. That's what I'm going to share here, is if the person decides what they write on their side. When I use this in my family, we have a rule that you can't write something in somebody else's column unless they say it's okay. So you're not adding things to their list as an expectation. It's like, hey, remember, this has to be on your list. This is something you need to get done today, especially if you have kids. And the little checkbox is just where you can check it off. Where this can really come in as an ADHD-friendly tool is, number one, if you keep this like on the kitchen counter, on the kitchen table, it's a way to acknowledge this is what I'm trying to accomplish today. And you know, when you check it off, when other people are going by it, I always say like kitchen is like the prime area where everyone's going to see it. So it can serve as that, look at me getting things done. So it gives you that sense of a reward for checking it off, but it also gives you that sense of satisfaction, knowing that you can see it's moving along, but other people can also see. And then what part that I ask people to consider, if they want somebody to check in, or if it's like a kid and you know, like the parent is going to check in, I always ask the student or their child, what is the language that would work for you for them to check in on your tasks? So it might be something like, instead of saying, hey, why isn't that math homework checked off? It might be, I noticed you have 20 math problems. Is there anything I can do to help you get started? Or do you need any support to get started? Or is there anything, let me know if you need any help with that. So it's not an expectation that you are, I always say with ADHD, that can literally drain all of the interest and energy we had. It's like, I'm going to get that done today, but don't tell me at what time I'm going to get it done. Right. Just leave me to my list. So I'm going to work my list. So it's just a way to see what you're trying to get done and to stay accountable, but exploring what would work for you. So again, it might be, you can write things on my list. I don't care. And all of a sudden I'm going to do them, or please don't write anything on my list. If you ask me, I might say, yeah, you can go ahead and add that, but really individualizing it and letting it work for you. So identify what it is that would work for you, what language would work for you, if it's okay for somebody to check in with what's on your list, what worked, what didn't work, what language feels comfortable for you, and just notice how it would feel to experiment with it. If that's a sparkly idea for you, to keep things kind of front and center, so you're remembering your intentions, so that family members can see what it is they're trying to get done. It's just a way to play with it and experiment to see if it's a tool that would work to support your family with a little bit more ease. So that's it. That's the tool for this week. Oh, I wanted to share, I have a picture. I forgot. I found this. I use this tool whenever, this is going to sound funny. I don't move like all the time, but I've moved a number of times. And so I found this picture for when right during when the pandemic hit. We live in Chicago. Had just a little side story here. Had like a little bit of a panic personally with how can I live in Chicago when the rest of my kids are in North Carolina, and it felt like the world was ending. So I immediately was like, we have to move. So we were going to put the house on the market and move back to North Carolina. And whenever we're moving, we set up a dry erase board as like a big calendar. And so we'll just write in the lines. We make it with wet erase markers so they don't wipe off. And then, we were both working full time during the week. So we just have most of our tasks on the weekends, but we identified like, this is our goal, to have pictures taken for the house. These are the things that have to happen on the weekend, and we're checking them off. And we had different colors for who was doing different things and checking them off as we went along. It just helps us to see everything it needs to get done. And it creates that urgency. So it's like, well, I don't feel like doing anything today. I'll do it all tomorrow. If you can see how much is going on tomorrow, you won't push it to tomorrow because you can see it. So I love using a family calendar as a way to see everything. I don't do it all the time, but I do it when there's a lot of tasks that need to be done. So I thought I would just share that example. A good visual, right? I love the visuals. All right. On to this week's topic. WWHWD. What would Henry Winkler do? This phrase came to mind when I was listening to the Smartless podcast recently, and he was the guest. And I love me some Henry Winkler. Like I just do. I grew up watching him on Happy Days. I got to meet him. So this was at a book signing when I was the librarian of my son's school.
How stinking cute is he?
And the bookworm was our mascot at the library. And I asked him if I could take a picture of him with the school bookworm. And he was such a good sport. He was like, of course you can. So that's the bookworm on his shoulder. Just the most like that smile was so genuine. He was just such a sweet, sweet man. And when I heard him on the Smartless podcast, which is a fabulous podcast, by the way, I just was so, again, inspired by him. When he did the book signing, he talked for about 20 minutes before he signed books.
Aww.
And it was just such an inspirational talk. And he talked about having dyslexia and how his, the Hank Zipser books have a special font to help people with dyslexia. It's like a weighted font that's heavier at the bottom so that the letters stay grounded on the page. They're not kind of floating around for them.
How cool is that?
It was very cool. And he was the first person to use that. The font was designed specifically for people with dyslexia. So he used the font in his books. But I learned some lessons listening to this, hour-long podcast on Smartless that reminded me of what we could learn from Henry Winkler. And so I thought, it's one of those like grounding kind of mantras, like what would Henry Winkler do right now when I'm trying to think of things? So I wanted to share a few of the things, the lessons I learned from that podcast. And just invite you to explore if there's somebody that feels like a role model or an inspiring figure in your life, thinking about what would they do in a moment when you're not able to decide can help connect you to your intentions a little bit more easily. All right, so the first thing that I have to highlight is he is probably, if you were to take the VIA character strength survey, I would say gratitude is probably his top strength. He is so full of gratitude. They were when he first came on, they were talking about what a kind man he is. And he said, what I think it actually is that I have enormous gratitude for everything that I've been able to do with my life. He said that when he started on Happy Days, his role as Arthur Fonzarelli, the Fonz, only had 6 lines. That was it. He was a very small character and he wasn't meant to be a main character. And what I loved about that was it reminded me of the something is always more than nothing, that somebody could look at that as, well, I have 6 lines, whatever. He saw it as, I have 6 lines.
I do.
Exactly. And so he only recorded like 1 day a week because he only had to do 6 lines. And the rest of the cast, shot all week long. And so he would stay in his apartment in LA. And he said he felt like he couldn't go anywhere because he had such a strong work ethic that it felt like he couldn't do anything on a weekday that wasn't work related. So he had all of his fan mail that was sent to the studio delivered to his apartment, and he would sit all day long and read every fan letter and answer his own fan mail by hand. And again, I think that speaks to gratitude, being, really committed to appreciating that somebody would take the time to write to him. So he wanted to take the time to read what they wrote and write back to them. He said that his personal mantra came from somebody, it could have been somebody in prison, because he said like it came like on a piece of sheet metal, it was like engraved.
Oh my God.
That it said on it, if you will it, you can have what it is you want. And that it still hangs in his office. Now he got this like at the very beginning of like the first year of Happy Days. And he said that it is still hanging on his office wall because it resonated so much with him. And I thought, he kind of created his whole career from that. Like, if I will it, I can have whatever it is that I want. So he talked about how, he went from being like crazy famous, like probably one of the most famous people in the world during Happy Days, to in 2001, he said he couldn't find acting work. And one of his friends advised him to write children's books about his experience with dyslexia. And he said that, hey, I have dyslexia. I can't write a book. And he said, no worries, I'm going to introduce you to Lynn Oliver. And she is a writer. And so Lynn Oliver has been his writing partner. And I didn't realize all of his books were co-written. So he basically, and he talked about this when we went to his book signing, he basically dictates the stories to her, and she's writing and adding, all of the different things. So they collaborate, but he doesn't do the actual like sit down and write, because of his dyslexia, he has a really hard time spelling and sounding out and all of that. So he said that he realized if he only has a plan A and he doesn't have a plan B, that he gets really stressed out. So he said,
Sure.
have a plan B. So he said, his lawyer said that he should have a production company. So he started one for him. And he said, but I don't know anything about producing. What are you talking about? He said, don't worry, you'll learn, but you just need to start. And so he did. And he said that he found people to do the things that he couldn't do. Because again, he has dyslexia that's pretty impairing. He said he's in the bottom 3% of school-age children when he was in school.
Wow.
And yet he went to Yale drama school. So he's like, things can be done if you find ways around them. And again, he just spoke so much. I was so inspired by how he had a lot of obstacles in his way, but he found plan Bs. He found ways around them that worked for him. So this is a quote that he said. He said, I saw myself as that toy that you punch and it goes down and it comes right back to center. But what I learned is a lot of people will say no, but if you stay at the table long enough, you will eventually get a yes. So when he said that, I literally thought of the punching bag because that's what he was talking about. And I had these when I was little and I stinking loved them. It didn't look like this guy. In complete honesty, he was the cheapest one. And I think it was because he didn't have the popular, like there were some pretty popular ones. But what I love, and I don't know if this will go down in the space I have in my little podcast corner here, but is that when you push it, you punch it up. Oh my gosh.
It doesn't go down though.
He goes back
He
up.
got back up.
Oh,
Way to go, little buddy.
So I love that image. He is not holding air very well. I literally just blew him up right before I started recording and he's already looking all floppy.
That is such a good idea, like to picture him.
To picture, it's the, you get knocked down, you get back up. You get knocked down, you get back up. It's like that Captain America when he's like, I can do this all day, right? It's that, you know what? Keep throwing it at me. Eventually I'm going to get the yes that I'm looking for. So yeah, that inspiration of, and that's literally when he said that, that's when I thought, what would Henry Winkler do? He would get back up and keep going. Something, somebody said something negative. He would get back up and keep going. Somebody said I shouldn't be podcasting for 3 years and have 981 subscribers. Get up and keep going. It's not about that. It's about doing what you feel compelled to do because it is allowing you to hopefully support other people to do what they need to do. So he says he didn't get a lot of support from his parents on his goals for his career, but he learned from that experience that he believes a herd child is a powerful child. And he made a decision that he would parent his children very differently from the way that he was parented. So again, learning from what worked and didn't work for him and intentionally bringing it into what he wanted more of in his own life. So I share that strategy. What would Henry Winkler do? WWHWD as the topic for this week. When you get knocked down, get right back up and keep going forward.
Yeah, I love that.
If that image works for you, great. If not, leave it behind. As with anything, take what works for you, leave the rest behind. All right, on to the book for the week. It is The Plot.
The Plot
By Jean Horowitz. And I'm so sorry, Jean, if I said that wrong. You guys know I struggle with pronouncing things. I'm making up words. This was an interesting book. I have to say, I kept reading it going, I have read this before. I have read this book before. I have read this book before. I read, and it was like, I read it recently. So the book Yellowface is like the same exact book.
Okay.
Which I was like, it sent me in this long Google, like, is this legal? Can you write the same book? Because this one came out first. It was just an older book that I found out from my library's Big Fall Books program that there's a sequel coming out called The Sequel. I don't know why that cracks me up, but
The sequel.
I hadn't read the original. So I'm like, oh, I have to read it. Well, I read Yellowface sometime earlier this year. And actually, I didn't love Yellowface. I did like this. So I don't know. I just felt like this, maybe because this one came first, it was written a little bit different. I don't know because I didn't realize that there was anything that came before Yellowface, but apparently it's been written a few times. Like I don't think The Plot was the first time it was written either.
Okay, sure.
So I didn't know any of this. I found it all very interesting, but I did like the plot. It did keep me, except for knowing kind of what was going to happen before it happened. I think if I didn't know anything about it, I would have just loved it because I knew it was going to happen. I still finished it, which is really saying something because I don't like reading books. I know what's going to happen,
Right. But
especially because it was a mystery.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
And-
Then you gave away
And
the
so,
mystery.
right. So no, but it kept me going. So I do recommend it. I did have a enjoyable time reading it, even though I kind of knew what the outcome was going to
Yeah.
be. There may have even been a movie or something that was similar to it. Like I swear there's a lot
Mhm.
like this. But anyway, that's the book of the week. So now for my quote of the week, this is another Henry Winkler quote. This was a stop the podcast and write it down quote.
Ooh.
Like it was so good. He said, this is such a personal owner's manual and ADHD friendly
Yeah.
kind of quote. This is Henry speaking. He said, there is not one way to do anything. There is your way. And your way is as valid as any other way. Come on.
That's amazing.
What would Henry Winkler do?
What would Henry
He'd do
Winkler
it his
do?
way. And I would add on, and he'd capture it in his personal owner's manual in his palm so that he can do it again.
Yeah.
All right. That's it for this episode 151. If you have any comments or anything you want to share, strategies that work for you related to what we talked about today, please post it in this episode. That's it for this week. Until next time, Kelly Ho.